Hello, everybody. Happy Sunday. Do you know what today is? Today is the day we're going to be talking about what in the world is going on with all these bidding wars. It isn't just your specific area, it's all over the United States. Bidding wars for days. And I have a special guest. I've had him on before. It's Epic Real Estate, Matt Thoreau. I hope I said his last name right. I'm the worst with last names. And one question before we start, I want to ask everybody because I have these lights, right? So in the background, I have this pink light, and I got some hate for my pink light. But do you like it better as the pink light or the yellow light? Because I think that looks like urine. I don't like it. I'm still like fascinated with the pink. I know, big problems. But so when we're talking about this bidding war thing that's going on across the country, there are some reasons why it's happening. And I know people love to blame the Californians, but it isn't just the people of California. If that was the case, then the prices in California would be dropping like a rock, and they're not. They're going up on average. I think throughout the United States, it's about 16% is the last thing I read. But I mean, it's all over the country. So we can't blame all the people of California. So let's go ahead and throw in Matt, the epic real estate guy. And I'd love to get his perspective on where do you think all these bidding wars are coming from? Because they're not just coming from California's.
Right. No. And thanks for having me back. Appreciate it.
Of course.
I just got back from a 2-week vacation, so I've been a little bit disconnected. But I guess personal experience, I do have 2 houses for sale right now that I've just accepted offers on both. And I had multiple offers to choose from.
And what area are you in? Where do you live?
One is in Oregon, and one of the properties is in Southern Oregon, and the other property is in Cleveland.
Oh, Cleveland. So I have a question for you, because this is where my next video is going to be coming out on Tuesday. And what I've been reading is that they're encouraging the average investor to buy single family properties to rent. Why are you dumping them?
Oh, I am upgrading my portfolio and taking advantage of the 1031 exchange while I still can.
Okay.
I've got a couple properties that are equity heavy, and I've done really well with them over the last few years, but they're not in I only have one property in Cleveland now. So I just want to pull my inventory out of Cleveland and just kind of put that where I have a better property management. And
so for people that don't know what a 1031 exchange is, can you give that a little explanation?
Got it. All right. I'll try to do it without going into politics, because I know you don't like that. But a 1031 exchange is a code in the tax, or it's a paragraph in the tax code that allows you to sell a property and to buy another property within a specific time period without tax implications. So if you had a property that's appreciated, and if you sold it and you took those proceeds, you'd have to pay taxes on those gains, right? But if you go ahead and you immediately transfer that into another property without realizing those gains, actually taking the cash, then you can defer that tax liability down the road. And so
where are you putting your money?
I'm putting in more property.
Yeah, where at though? Where are you going to invest?
We're going into St. Louis. I've got a great property manager in St. Louis, and I have got a bunch of good stuff in Birmingham, Alabama as well, with a great property manager there. So those are the 2 markets I like really well, just because I've got great property management and my properties perform there really well. And so that's where we're going.
Eddie, can you throw up one of the articles that came up about bidding wars real quick? Oh, here's a good one. Do you think the 1031 will go away?
I don't think it will. I don't think it would be a popular move, but President Biden on the campaign trail talked about it over and over and over again. And so, he's kind of come through with all of his promises so far that were times 10, it seems. So I could imagine it's going to be on the docket and it'll be up for debate, but will it go? Your guess is as good as mine. But just in case, I've got some big equity in some of these houses, and I would like to go ahead and make that move right now, just in case it does. I'm
refinancing some properties right now because I have some that are. I would like to take the equity out and buy some more properties. That's what I'm doing.
Yeah, I think so.
So, Eddie, can you throw up that article? Thank you. Single-family homes are likely to attract bidding wars. Townhouses are catching up as prices are out. Priced out buyers for searching for more affordable housing options. And this is 100% true, even in the manufactured home sector.
Mhm.
Even in that sector, the houses have gone up and they're having a big surge in people being more interested in buying
Mhm.
those. And I don't know. How do you feel about condos and investing in condos?
Well, I'm a cash flow investor. I don't speculate and count on appreciation at all. I know it's going to happen over time, but I don't try to predict it. And
Hmm.
I'll look at condominiums. I think there is a housing shortage. I think we continue to make people faster than we build houses. I think
Hmm.
that's going to continue to be the case for a while. So people who need somewhere to live, they want to own something. And I don't think there's anything wrong with owning a condo. And you just have to do some different calculations with regard to the expenses that would be involved with a condominium, like a homeowners association. And I think if you can create a positive cash flow for them, I think and you're not depending on appreciation or counting on it to act like a house in that regard. I think they're great investments.
There's a danger in them, and just like you said, because the HOAs can go up exponentially. I've seen some of them like go up so high. I'm like, what in the world? But look at the home bidding war ramp up. Look at that.
Mm,
It is
yeah.
unbelievable. They're in every single market. I don't know. I have not talked to one real estate agent that hasn't been in a bidding war. I was lucky. One of my subscribers messaged me yesterday on my phone just to let me know that he was able to find a property that hadn't hit the market yet. They were in the middle of like flipping the property.
Hmm.
And so he was able to negotiate a deal to buy this property before it hit the market, and he didn't have to deal with any kind of bidding war.
That's
So
nice.
I know. So if you guys are interested in doing that, go ahead and talk to your real estate agent and see if they have any that are coming up on the market, so you can make that offer ahead of time. That was a good little plan there. Eddie, you want to throw up another question? Eddie's my little guy in the background. Everybody say thank you to Eddie for throwing up the questions for us.
Thank you, Eddie.
I don't know where he went to, though. I think he probably walked away. Oh, goodness gracious. Oh, Eddie, you going to throw up a question there? Hold on.
Don't worry.
Yeah, he's a little slow. Come on, Eddie. Are you going to do it? Oh, here we go. Hey, do you know anything about Clayton Homes? I do know a little bit about Clayton Homes. Do you know anything about them, Matt?
No, never heard of them. What are they?
Okay, Clayton Homes are a manufactured home company. They're also run by Berkshire Hathaway, who is also owned by
Mm,
who? Warren Buffett.
right.
He bought them years ago because he knew that they would be something that would increase in value, and it was something he could make money off of. So he bought the company out. They have a reputation. If you look, do a little quick Google search, they have a reputation with them. So just it's area specific, because you can go in some areas and they're totally fine and they have a good experience. But it seems that some other areas, when they talk about their home, they have a negative experience. I do want to caution everybody, and this is true of any manufactured home company that you ever purchase anything from. 90% of the problems that I've seen that people have where they're just exhausted everything, it isn't from the actual home itself. It's from the people that installed the home when they brought it to the site. So once it gets on site, they didn't line up the seams correctly. They didn't do the plumbing. They didn't plumb in the right kind of plumbing. They didn't come back and fix things. And that isn't because of the home itself. It's because of the people that put it together. The
Mhm.
best research you can do when buying a manufactured home is find the perfect installers that have a great reputation, that have installed many manufactured homes, and investigate those people. That is going to save you a ton of time. I know there's a lot of things you got to do ahead of time when you're deciding to purchase one, especially when you're buying raw land. But the best investment of that time is to find a good installer when it comes
Mhm.
to putting your manufactured home together. So
That's interesting that you said that in that, because I don't know anything about manufactured homes, but
mhm.
that dynamic, it exists really in all real estate, in my opinion, with regard to, I think real estate is a can't lose investment. It's the highest reward, lowest risk investment there is. So real estate is really safe, regardless of what people out there think about it. But to your point is, it's the people involved that can insert most of the risk. If I
Mhm.
look back at all the investments that didn't go right for me, it could really be drawn to either directly or indirectly to a bad property manager or a bad contractor.
Mm-hmm.
The real estate part, that's easy. Once you have a basic level of education on that and you know how to buy right, it's tough to lose. It's the people involved. And you're saying that with the manufactured home, it's the people that assemble the home is where the challenges come through. So I totally believe that.
It's true what you say about being the safest investment, because corporations have been getting in on it as well. So I don't know if you saw, there was an article in the Wall Street Journal about you know who D.R. Horton is, right? It's one of the biggest home companies throughout the country. They build homes everywhere.
Okay.
They had a neighborhood they were building, and this
Mhm.
one company came in and bought the whole entire neighborhood for the highest bid. And so they're selling those homes as rental properties to individuals within their company. And D.R. Horton actually
Mm.
made double than they would have if they sold each house individually. So everybody knows a lot of
Yeah.
investors, big corporations are buying as much property right now as possible because they're thinking the stock market is pretty shaky. So they're taking their money and putting into hard assets. So
Yep. It doesn't matter when you bought real estate. As of
yep.
today, you would have made a profit.
Everybody's I'm looking at, they love the pink.
There
They
you
love
go.
the pink. I got one yellow. The pink matches my hair. So everybody's commenting on my light behind me. So the pink wins. I like the pink too. It goes with my theme. I think the pink matches your hair. And home prices and bidding wars won't stop till the government finally is fiscally stable. When the hell is that going to happen?
Yeah. I got something I can share real quick that I've got here.
Throw it up there, my friend.
Let's see if this works well.
Let's see if it comes up.
Let's see. There's that. There's that. There's this. Can you see that?
Add to stream. Here we go.
Did that work?
There we go. Yep. Go ahead.
Okay, perfect. So yeah, this is what we're dealing with over the last 20 years, 22 years or so.
Is this from NPR?
Where is this from? NAR.
NAR. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Uh-huh. And you can see the blue area, that this is the housing inventory. It just continues to drop and drop and drop. And if you look over the last 9 years, it's just the demand is through the roof. Mm-hmm. And a big portion of that, one, is just the basic law of supply and demand. The demand is so high, the supply is low. So of course the price is going to go up. That's where the bidding war type thing comes into play. And then you look at this is the other part, would be the interest rates. And I think this is really the biggest variable in our whole answering this question, right? So if we go back to, or all the way down here to our all-time low, which was in January, but we've been on a steady uptick up ever since. And it's projected to go a little bit higher. So I think that's what could potentially slow it down. But they do, like, the government does have to be very careful on how quickly they raise those rates. But I think that's how they're going to manage it. And I think that's what we could expect. I don't think there's going to be a hard stop. I think it'll be a gradual slowdown.
Grant Cardone's prediction is that they're going to increase the interest rates. They're gonna do it like for a period of time, and then they're gonna take them again. That's his prediction.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's all a prediction, right?
Yeah, we're all guessing. We're all doing educated guesses. But he one of the things that I didn't believe until I started investigating it myself was that he was saying that big corporations that are in these bigger cities are buying up even foreclosed properties. Like, they'll go in there and they'll always be like the highest bid, even in the foreclosed and auctioned properties. And I'm like, what the hell would they want those for? Well, the big corporations want them because they want their employees to rent from them. And I heard in another group somebody that was talking from a publication, Housing Wire, and he said that we don't have an affordability crisis, which I disagree with. He says that we have a housing inventory crisis. There just isn't enough homes for people to purchase. And he said that most people aren't going to want to purchase a home anyways. Again, don't agree with that. But he said that he would want for them to build more apartment buildings and condos and those types of things for people, and stop building single family houses. And I totally disagreed with that. And I was like hot mad. I wish it was in Clubhouse, and I wanted to talk, but I couldn't get in there to talk because I was like, I wanted to argue with them, because I don't think that's the case. I don't think most people don't want to buy a home. I think that's wrong. I think a lot of people have been priced out of the market.
Mhm.
And it's completely to the point of unfairness when it comes to, there's people that have lived in a certain area, the homes that have typically gone up at a healthy rate. And now a home that was 150,000 is now 220,000 within a year. How is that fair to the people that have been working in that area all that time? I don't know how long it can last. I just don't know how sustainable it is for some of these markets. And some of them, I don't think they're really going to go down as quickly as other people think they are, like Austin,
Mhm.
Texas. And I don't think that's going to go down anytime soon.
Mhm.
There's too much tech.
Right.
But if, like places like Orlando and like around some areas in Florida, I don't see it like sustaining itself. I've seen it go up and down a million times in Florida, and I just don't see it being
Well, what
able
do
to
you think
hold
would
that.
cause it to fall?
A lot of people will just put their house on the market. And I think interest rates going up. When the housing crisis happened the last time, the houses went up so stupid high. Like I even knew there was no way my house was worth $300,000, and there just wasn't enough houses on the market. And then all of a sudden, everybody was selling their house at the same time. There was
Mhm.
just an increase of supply. People were like, "Oh, I can better get out before the getting's good," and there wasn't any buyers. So.
Mhm.
Um, that I just think an increase in inventory where people are just like, oh, I want to dump my property.
It'll be interesting to see, the vaccine takes hold and we reach our herd immunity and people can feel a little bit more safe returning back to normal if they will put their houses on the market. Part of many of the offers that I've gotten on these two deals or these two properties I'm selling right now, a lot of them are contingent on them selling their house, right?
Which will
So
sell quickly, won't they, in that
it
area?
it would, but I really don't want to wait, right? So
Mm-hmm.
they're out there competing against people that don't have that contingency, and I think they might be losing out in those bidding wars because of that extra variable that's involved in their transaction.
Everybody that I've ever signed, even if they had a house for a sale, they went ahead and did it without the not putting that in the contingency. People are freaking me out, some of the stuff that they're willing to put in those contracts. Because I'm like, you haven't
Oh,
sold your house yet. And they're like, it will sell. I'm like, okay. Gwen asked, what's the market like for selling homes in need of a remodel? If it has four walls, it has studs, and it has a roof on it and a door, the house sells.
yeah. I'd be interested in if she was asking that question that if she needed to fix her house up before she sells it or not.
It depends on how much profit you want. If
Right.
that would be the case, like how much of investment of time are you willing to put in and money before you're willing to sell it? If you're just wanting to getting it off your hands because you think this is the height of the market, do it. But if you are a little bit, you think it's going to last a little bit longer all the way through the summer, and you can put about $10,000 kitchen in and get $30,000 back, go ahead and do it. I would run those numbers with your local real estate agent. To see what the market's doing in your specific area, because every area is going to be completely different. Every little micro real estate market is going to be completely
Mhm.
different. So, question: can you use a primary residence cash out refi to purchase a rental property and deduct the refi payments as a deduction? Go ahead, Matt.
Yes. Yeah, you absolutely can. I think that's an extremely smart strategy to do. Is and I get pushback on this all the time, but I really think your primary residence is a bad investment. I think
Mhm.
there's better use for that type of money. But if it makes you feel good and you want to own the house and that's something that's going to give you some self actualization, then that's fine. I'm not against it. But when people look at it as an investment, you do the math and you stretch it out, even if it appreciates doubles or triples, it really there's missed opportunities where that money could have been put in place that could have performed better. So this idea of taking cash out of your primary residence and putting it into a rental property, I think is a really brilliant move, and it's something that everyone should consider.
A lot of investment gurus and suggest that it
Mhm.
isn't just a cockamamie theory. There's many people that have made a lot of money just doing that, and that's why we have a HELOC on our house.
Yeah,
So we've always had it, because who knows? You never know when you're driving down the road and you're like, oh, that's the house, and you just write that
totally.
little check and call it a day.
Mhm.
What do you got next there? Any question? Inventory means houses available for purchase. Correct. So right now, our inventory would be normally at a 6-month supply, and that would be a healthy market. Right now, we're on a 5-day supply. It's just ridiculous. We normally have about 2,500 to 3,000 properties for sale in our area.
Mhm.
Right now, there's 185 houses for sale, and half of them are new proposed construction.
Mhm. Probably the other half are asking so far above market value that they're just like,
Some of
see
them,
who's going to take it.
well, our county is kind of a big county, and there's some
Mhm.
areas that I wouldn't say are the most desirable for a lot of home buyers, and the homes are a lot older. A few of those properties are manufactured homes, but they're sitting on what would be we live below sea level here, and they're not. Flood zone X would be the one that most people want to be in. So when you get into the A B flood zone, that's when you're going to have higher flood insurance costs. So
Mhm.
even though the house may be affordable, the flood insurance itself is like $6,000 a year. So a lot of those people, because it doesn't come out of your mortgage payment, it comes out
Mhm.
of one solid check, and a lot of people can't afford that in 1 year. So those are the ones that kind of tend to sit a little bit longer. And then there's a few that are just stupid overpriced. Everybody's trying to rake it in. Yay, I'm a real estate agent in Kansas City. Eighth most competitive market currently, according to Realtor magazine. Probably seeing multiple offer
Right.
situations.
That's a good time to be a listing agent. That's for sure.
But they don't even the thing is even the listing agents, even though you have a house that's on the market and it's going to sell quick, it's just as stressful because you have to get all these people that come through the house. You got agents breathing down your neck because they think that their offer is the best, and you're trying to explain to them that it's not the best right now, and then they don't understand why, and you're trying to make it as a fair of a playing field as possible. Like, we're starting this like we're opening this house up on Saturday. Everybody's offer needs to come in by 8 p.m. and then they got theirs turned in at 8:12, and they were like, why didn't you accept our offer? We had
Mhm.
well, you turned it at 8:12. It says offers are ending at 8 p.m. And then you got 80 offers sitting in front of you, and you have to go through each and every single one of them and present every single one of them. It's exhausting. And the only thing I think that really stinks, though, is that, and I'm not saying all real estate agents do this, but some of the real estate agents that I've noticed, because they know it's going to sell fast, don't put in the extra effort that they would have in a market that was more competitive. They're not putting the professional photographs in there. They're not doing the type of marketing they would for a home that would typically sit on the market for 3 to 4 weeks. They're not doing those extraordinary videos that they would put for a house. And that makes me sad, because what makes them want to hire you in the future if you're not willing to put them first when it's a really hot market and you didn't have to do
Mhm.
anything? I still do everything, like everything, just like if the house was going to sit there for 6 months, I'm going to do everything. So as soon as it hits the market, it looks like a gem. And that frustrates me. I don't know why anybody would hire anybody like that afterwards, but that's just me. Barndominium sellable if I build one or build one and ever needed to sell it. Barndominium sellable. I know barndominiums do qualify for conventional financing. A barndominium, though, is not as cheap as it's marketed to be. First of all, the concrete alone that you have to have for the pad of the barndominium is a lot more, and the price of concrete has gone up exponentially. It's a steel frame. Barndominiums are a steel frame. They're very durable, but steel has also gone up exponentially. And a lot of people do them in Texas because it's a tax break, because it's considered an agricultural building. So they get a tax break on it. So that's why they choose to do a barndominium. But if you're looking at it as an affordable housing option, it's not as affordable as you think. It's right in line, if not more expensive than a traditional built home. Did you know that?
No, I'm learning something new. I've never heard of barndominium. I put the words together, so I'm kind of figuring out what it is, but
It's like a metal building that looks
uh-huh.
like a barn, like you've seen those when you're driving down the road.
Mhm.
But the inside has been sectioned out just like it would be for a house.
Okay.
And they have a loft, and they're really neat. They're insulated really well. They're energy efficient. They're a neat it's a neat concept because they're very sturdy, a sturdy
Mhm.
building. And they do qualify for conventional financing.
Oh,
But
sweet. Could
that,
fit
like I
around
said,
here.
there's a it's what is your goal? You know, because like taxes, the property taxes in Texas are very high. Not as high as California, but you know what I mean. And so people are trying to get away around that, and the way they get around it is they make these condominiums.
Got it.
It's pretty smart, actually.
Yeah.
So let's see. What's a HELOC or whatever you mentioned that you have on your property? Go ahead, Matt. Tell them what a HELOC is.
Sure. A HELOC is HELOC, stands for Home Equity Line of Credit.
Uh-huh.
So if you have some equity in your house, you can go to the bank and apply for an equity line of credit, and they'll essentially use your equity in the property as collateral for the line of credit.
Mhm.
And that can happen. It can take multiple different shapes and forms. It could be for a specific purpose to go in and do home improvements, or actually make an additional purchase, or you can just have an open line of credit. As you were talking about, Kristina, you never know when you're driving down the street and you see an opportunity and you want to jump on it, then you'd have it at the ready. But you only have to pay for it as you use it. So
Mhm.
it's nice to have it in place just for emergencies, whether that's a family emergency or personal emergency, or it's an investment opportunity emergency.
Right. You just never know what's going to happen in life. So it's nice to
Hmm.
be able to borrow against yourself.
Yep.
One thing I will say though, if you're selling your house and they're doing the title work and everything, when they ask you about your mortgage, you give them your mortgage name, but also tell them if you have a HELOC, even if you've never used it. Always mention the fact that you have that, because I had a closing that was stalled because they never mentioned it. For some reason, it didn't come up in the original title search. They get to the closing and they're like, they have another mortgage on this property. I'm like, why didn't you find that sooner? But so if you are selling your house and you do happen to have a HELOC, please mention that to the title company before closing. Okay. What do you think about land speculation and flippers? It's been tough trying to find land to build on. Are flippers buying and turning the property around in an increased price the next month? They're buying houses and doing that. They've always done that, though. They do some little lipstick on the pig, paint the house, add
Hmm.
a new roof, and then put it back on the market. I don't see it as much this time as I did like years ago, like in 2007, 2008. What are you
Hmm.
seeing, Matt?
Well, the land speculation and flippers. So I guess that means that they're flipping land, right? And I know it's actually a pretty popular strategy right now, investing, because it's been so difficult to do the houses
Mhm.
and to find good deals on the houses off market. So people are researching title records of landowners, sending them offers, and it's a pretty good has a pretty good turnover in that asset class, because people will buy a piece of land. This is where I'm going to build my retirement home one day, and I'm going to, where this is going to happen. And 4 or 5 years go by, and all of a sudden they have a change of plans, or they need the money or something like that. So I don't know what the actual question is, but I know it's popular, and I know there's a couple gurus out there that go and teach the seminars exactly how to do it. And there's several websites. I mean, if you're looking for land, and then they teach them to not just flip it for cash, but to flip it on terms, so you could have seller financing in place. If you're looking for land, I think there's a great opportunity. Just a couple Google searches will send you to a lot of different options.
I just did a couple videos on land, mostly because people are looking to either build a house or put a manufactured home on it. One of the things I will definitely tell you, if you're buying a piece of land and you're doing it for yourself, make sure you have a freaking survey done, because everybody, like, especially here in Louisiana, everybody thinks that their land is a certain way, shape, form, whatever. And they're like, that's on my property. And then you get a survey and you're like, no, I actually own half of your house, because nobody did the right survey.
Hmm. Hmm.
So always invest that money. I know it seems like a lot up front, but always have that land survey done before you close on a house. Do not take the one that the current owner has, because it might be as old as Methuselah. Just go ahead and get yourself a new one. Everybody likes pink.
Yeah, landwatch.com is the big website for that. Landwatch.com.
Yeah. Um, Another thing about land, though, especially in an area like this, you got to make sure that you own the mineral rights as well. Like, own it all. Don't just own the surface rights. Try to own the mineral rights. Question. We have an offer on a HUD foreclosure home. Oh, congratulations. That's wonderful. It says only open to owner occupants. Does HUD actually look to see if the buyer is going to live there? I'm competing with investors. 100%. And you are in better shape than those investors. The HUD does not want to sell it to investors. They will open it up 20, 30 days before an investor can make a bid on that specific house. So yes, you are in much better shape. It doesn't even matter if those investors offered $30,000 more. HUD's goal is to give it to a family that's going to live there. So you don't have to worry about it. As long as your financing is in shape and everything else, they will work with you all the way to the end. HUD does not want to sell it to investors.
Yes, and just to answer the second half of that question, yes, they will check.
Oh yeah, they definitely check.
They will definitely check.
Yeah, they definitely check. I had a family that was he buys lots of houses. So every time he does one of these, I'm like, are you going to live there or are you going to buy this under your company? He's like, he speaks another language. So he's like, I said, so you're going to move your whole entire family? Well, no. And I'm like, no, then you're an investor. You're not purchasing it for yourself. I'm not going to do that. Not going to be held responsible. He's like, okay. But he ends up winning anyway. All right, go ahead. Hello, I'm about to close on a property next month. When should I apply for the STAR program? The STAR program? Do you know what the STAR program is?
I'm doing a quick search here real quickly.
Yeah, let's. Is it like a homestead? Let me. I'm gonna pull this up. You're learning me some stuff. STAR program. Is that a New York State thing?
Yeah, I'm only seeing New York results here.
STAR program, Fannie Mae STAR program. The Servicer Total Achievement Rewards is a transparent, informal framework to recognize our servicing partners for competence and capacity and overall performance. Servicer Total Achievement. Aligns servicers' performance with Fannie Mae's goals, provides consistent methodology of measuring service performance, reduces Fannie Mae's credit losses by setting targets and expectations, and identifies and recognize the highest performing servicers. I have no idea. I mean, honestly, I'd have to look into this even more.
Yeah, what kind of experts are we? Sheesh.
I know. I've never heard of that.
I haven't either.
I'm gonna be learning. I'm writing this down. STAR program.
Yeah. There's a new video for you.
Yeah, the STAR program. It sounds fancy though.
I really want to be a part of the STAR program.
It sounds sparkly like my eyeshadow. In 2008, our HELOC was reduced drastically when the market crashed. Also, the loan was not tied to our house sale. Did you not use it? That's the only thing I can think of.
Happened a lot though. If you had them and you didn't use it, they took a lot of them away or cut them in half for sure.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And the thing is that HELOCs are very difficult to get right now, like super difficult. And that to me says the bank is saying, we're not sure how much this market's going to go up. We're not sure if we really want to give you that much of a line of credit because not sure if that's how much equity is really truly in your house. So they're unwilling to do HELOCs. They pretty much froze them during the pandemic. It seems like they've kind of loosened that up. I saw a sign heading out that says we do HELOCs at a local bank. So I just think I think everybody's feeling a little bit better now that we're kind of out and about as more people get vaccinated. And I think that perception of we're all locked in is gone, is going away. I went to the mall yesterday. It was packed. You would have thought it was Christmas. All I went to do is I went to go buy this glittery eyeshadow, matter of fact. And I mean, I feel like people are back to being, they're ready to get back in those swing.
People are ready. There's a lot of pent-up energy out there.
Pent-up energy. They've got their stimulus checks in hand and they're really willing to spend. So that's why a lot of people, I don't know if you saw my last video about the housing crash. And I just pretty much said there isn't going to be a housing crash this year. So if you're looking for that isn't going to happen. It made a lot of people very angry, but it isn't going to happen this year. I just don't see it that way. And
it's interesting how people get so emotionally attached to to that type of thing. It's like,
Well, they thought I was lying to them, but when I made the first video, it was they didn't extend all those packages, and they didn't have all that stuff in progress. You know, like in Congress, that nothing had passed. We didn't even know if we were going to get another stimulus plan. It was, you know, we didn't even have the second one, you know, or even the third one at that time. We only had the CARES Act that went through.
Right.
So I made that first video going, this isn't good for the rest of the country. There's people that are really hurting. And if you had, let me just say, if you had just watched that video and then watched my more recent video and you didn't look at the date when those were released, it made me look like a liar. So I think a lot of people were upset about that because, I mean, that was my one of my top performing videos. And so if they came from that one and saw the most recent one, they were like, what the hell's wrong with this girl?
Right. You know, a lot of us, though, this time last year got it wrong, you know, and we were all expecting something else. And boy, we defied all of the normal, what you would think would be normal logic.
In a million years, I never thought people would allow people to come through their house during a pandemic. Like I never, like in my mind and like my parents' minds, who they're in their 80s, they're like, I'm not having a bunch of strangers with their strange germs coming through. It would kill me, you know? And then you saw these people that put their house on the market and they were flying off the shelf. Like I thought prices of homes were going to drop, and I made a video about it. And I flat out have said a million times, I got it wrong, dead wrong.
I think everybody did. Yeah.
Well, Susie Orman made a post. I put this in my video too. Susie Orman made a post saying that the homes were going to go down 50%, which I don't know where she got that freaking number from. Like what a nut. But she said it was going to go down 50% to go ahead and put your house up for sale now before the whole world falls apart. And then she said, if the house next to you sells for 50% less, then your house is worth 50% less. I'm like, that's not how this works.
She's not a real estate person.
No, but like she's investment and she knows better than that. Good Lord. Good Lord. Go ahead. What about commercial land?
Commercial land. I'm not a commercial guy. I'm a single family guy as far as the investment goes. I have a couple pieces of land, but they're by accident. You know, I wonder, about last month, a lot of the major corporations, like your Apples and your Googles and all the major names that you know, were all making announcements as to when they were going to start asking their employees to come back to work. So I was wondering if that was ever going to happen, because I thought maybe the major corporations could see how productive they could be just by operating through Zoom. But no, they're asking everybody to come back. So, you know, 6-7 months ago, I was thinking, gosh, Zoom taking hold like this, that might be bad news for commercial property. You know, but I don't know now. They're saying, nope, you're all coming back to work now. So with regard to commercial land, I don't know. There could be potentially. Okay, so here's a perfect example. We're getting a new office space here in Las Vegas, and you would think that there'd be a lot of vacancies because Las Vegas was one of the most devastatedly hit when it came to employment, because it's such a hospitality industry here. But there's no office space available because people are moving from California to Nevada, and they're bringing their businesses with them. So the commercial land is getting sucked up like crazy right now. I don't know what it would look like around the rest of the country, but they're moving their primary residents, their personal residents, their families, and they're bringing their businesses with them. So I don't know if the impact is going to be as negative on commercial land or commercial properties as I thought it was going to be.
That is area specific as well. Because if you look at places like Boston and areas around New York, the commercial real estate is like.
Well, I could imagine California, where they're coming from. They're having the vacancies there now. So
yeah,
the demand is high here.
I still don't think that a lot of businesses are going to go back to exactly the way they were before. There's still going to be lots of people that are working from home. So I think some of those commercial spaces that used to be very large might be smaller. Of course, Apple and Amazon and all those people are going to they're going to expand like they always have. But the smaller companies, if they know that they can pay somebody to stay at home and not have the liability insurance of having as many employees in their office, and they're getting just as much work done as they did before, I don't see them ever coming back. I know lots of people that are saying that my company now says I can live anywhere, so I'm willing to move to Oklahoma because I can work pretty much anywhere. In fact, I get calls about that all the time because they're like, I got to get out of California. It's too expensive, but I can move to Oklahoma and be with my family family and work from there, and they're totally fine with that. So we'll see. I think some commercial real estate is going to end up into residential housing because it will be a good way to make a switch over with existing buildings. Question from Mr. Boiled Nuts. He's a moderator here as well. Question: opinion on renting to AHRN military. Do you know what that is? AHRN military? We're gonna. Oh, Matt's pulling up the old Google webs.
Go to the website, Military Homes for Rent.
I would always rent a military, in my opinion.
Most trusted global housing network for military communities. Get started here. There you go. All right. Opinion on that? I think it would be. I don't know. I guess I'd wonder what the concern is. What inspired the question?
Well, I would say this too. Most likely, those people aren't going to get fired from their job. they have job security. So
if I was coming back from Afghanistan right now, so they're going to need a place to live.
Yeah. So if you're worried about them like skipping out on rent, I wouldn't worry about it. Kristina Smallhorn, one thing to watch out for with this land is county building restrictions. Absolutely. I've said that in several videos. Just because you have 100 acres doesn't mean you can build on it. Building permits can be sold and moved. And not only that, here in Louisiana, you can have 100 acres and it's half of it is considered wetlands, and then you can't build on it. And then you have to go through the whole, like, I think they call it arbitration, where you take some of the land and you give it back to the wetlands community. So they build like a whole different section down by whatever, it's like you like basically switch out one piece for another piece. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it's a big issue here. You like, it used to be able, you could take mounds of dirt and bring it to a piece of land to raise up the level. And you'd see these houses in the middle of like a field, and they'd be on this like anthill. It looks terrible. Now you can't do that. And I don't understand. Like, it used to be a thing here too, you to put houses on piers. And for some reason we stopped doing that. The most flooded state in the union, and we're going to go ahead and put them on slabs so the water can go through the houses. I don't know. Somebody made that logic up, but it's easier, I guess. Follow-up question. I've placed my offer $30K over the HUD asking price. Is that typical for the market right now? It's in a great location and opened up to cash or conventional. So stressful. I would consult with your local real estate agent on this one when it comes to the typical amount that people are going over asking. I know for HUD, and I don't know who your competitors are, but I know for HUD, if you were the only person that was purchasing or trying to purchase this piece of property, and you offered, let's just say, at asking price, and then you had a bunch of investors that were offering $50,000 over. Those investors, it wouldn't matter how much they were offering over. They always work with the person that's willing to live in the house first. They will counter offer you back and forth before they ever even look at those investors. Now, if your competition is other people that are wanting to move into that specific house, take the advice of your real estate agent, do what she tells you to do, or he or she real estate person tells you to do. And because they know the market better than anybody. And if you want to win the house, just listen to them, because right now it's insanity. I mean, people are giving up their right to even inspect the houses. Some people are buying the houses sight unseen, which is insanity to me, but I know why they're doing it. Some of the people are buying 1, 2, 3 different properties just to have build up their portfolio of real estate, because that's the way to build wealth. That is. What is a crash? How much of a percentage of drop to be considered a crash? What's a crash to you, Matt?
A crash to me? I mean, obviously 2007 was the crash of all crashes since the Great Depression.
I say decline in 20% in 1 year.
Yeah, you could, if you even cut 2007's crash in half, I would still consider that a crash, because that was significant. Mm-hmm. That's a great question. I don't know if I've ever defined it. You certainly, I guess I just watch the news and see how they define it.
A crash to me is a drop in equity of 20%.
20%?
Within a year.
Within a year? That's a good number. Yep.
Yeah. That's what I say. All right, Eddie, throw us up another question. Question: if I'm not planning to spend my stimulus money, should I return it? Why would you return free money? I mean, if you feel guilty about having this money and you're like, what should I? I'm not planning on spending it. Take that money and put it in a charity that you always wanted to invest in. Not invest in, but just give that money to people that would definitely use it for something else. You could give it to your local church. You could give it to a local homeless shelter. You could give it to. I mean, there's all these different ways you could spend that money if you're not going to spend it on yourself. That you could help out your community, your local community. I think it's a great way of doing that.
I know Claudia Vargas. I don't think that's her though.
Oh, what is your opinion about that? What would you do? Would you return the check?
I think if you sent it back, it probably wouldn't even be noticed. So, I mean, I guess it's whether you spent it or not, I don't think it's going to have an impact on anything other than your own internal feelings. So if that's going to make you feel better, then do what makes you feel good, I guess.
Yeah, I wouldn't give any money back to the government.
Yeah, I can't imagine that I would do it either.
I would find a million different ways to.
If you felt like you have an abundance and you don't need it, then go out and do something good with it for somebody else that needs it.
Yeah, I think that's the best way to invest that money that was given to you. Go ahead, Eddie, throw up another one. I like saying throw up. It just sounds so. Question: if I sell a house and use the profit to buy land, can I use the 1031 exchange option that Matt was talking about? Can they do that, Matt?
The law says real estate for real estate. So I'm going to say yes, you can. I
thought it had to be the equal.
Equal or greater value.
Right.
But it is real estate for real estate. Yes.
Right. Right. Yep. So you could even buy a manufactured home with a 1031 as long as it was connected to a piece of property.
Yeah.
Now you can buy, and like this is one of those things that a lot of investors are doing too. And I've mentioned this on many videos beforehand. They're buying up foreclosed manufactured homes in the manufactured home lots, and they're renting those out. So you can do that as well because they're buying 1, 2, 3. There's actually a bunch of channels that just have started out about talking about investing in manufactured homes or mobile homes. So it's becoming a thing. Like I said.
That is the caveat, though. It has to be of equal or greater value from the house that you're selling or the property that you're selling.
Correct.
So that's going to have to be a really big piece of land compared to the house.
Bidding wars will end September 23rd, 2021, exactly at 7:42 p.m.
That's what I got.
Really? That is fascinating. I'm going to go ahead and set that in my calendar. I'm not even joking. What I wonder what that was significant about that specific date, because honestly,
I sensed sarcasm, but is there something more to it?
But no, because there's people that have specific dates in their head. So they, maybe they're into astrology and they have something that they have seen in the future. I mean, some people's guess is as good as everybody else's. Nobody has a crystal ball, but maybe they do.
All right.
Eddie, let's see. Go ahead, Eddie. Did you get lost? I think Eddie got lost. Eddie did not get lost.
There's some interesting information I could share also about the mortgage forbearance stuff that's going on right now. Really interesting stats just came out.
Question: I will take any unwanted stimulus money. There isn't many people that wouldn't.
There you go.
And there's no doubt that the stimulus money wasn't free. I maybe I said that incorrectly, but I'm just saying if you were given that money from the government, you don't get any special points because you gave it back. You don't get any special credit on your taxes because you gave it back. So why not just take that money and do something with it that's positive, that makes you feel good as a person?
I saw somebody do an analysis, and I don't know how you'd come up with this math, but it didn't sound totally far-fetched. But the stimulus being a $1,400 check would equate to a $5,000 increase in the average person's taxes that received that check.
Suspend it. The Norse one gave us a $5 super chat. Just thank you from
There
St.
you go.
Louis. Thank you. I wish I had a button that was like super chat.
Go Cards.
I used to have one. I used to have a little thing that used to play. 264 watching and 56 thumbs ups. Give us a thumbs up if you want. Matt, I have to tell you, as soon as I put this thing live, I got like 6 thumbs up and somebody gave me a negative like thumbs down. I literally had it up for 1 minute and somebody just didn't even want to hear what I had to say so badly. They automatically gave me a thumbs down.
Well, maybe it was me from the last time we did this.
Oh, did you give me a thumbs down on your own
I
live
can't
stream?
imagine they would give you a thumbs down.
Oh, that's all right. That's all right. Okay. Question. Bank of America has started a 25,000 grant program. Can you use that to buy land to put on a house? You'd have to ask Bank of America about that one.
I'm sure there's some what do you call it? Some
caveats
attached to the grant.
Yeah. And anytime that a big corporation comes up with anything where they're giving you money, I would definitely read the small print, especially when it comes to big banks. Like nothing is ever free. Nobody wants to give you free money. There is no free lunch.
There's a trade-off somewhere for sure.
Absolutely. So does that mean you're going to have to pay more at an interest rate? Are they extending your loan? Find out why are they giving you the 25,000?
Yeah.
There has to be a reason.
Look for deed restrictions as well in there.
Talk about forbearance, please. I will tell you about what I know about forbearance. June 31st, 2021, it ends. That means that they can file all the way to that specific date. Now, if they file on June 31st, 2021, that means they can still extend out forbearance for an additional, I think 6 months. I think that's what they said. So they can still do that. Let's just say none of these people haven't paid. They don't pay. It still takes an average of 485 days on them, of them not paying before the foreclosure process is completely in full swing. So if you're expecting a wave of foreclosures after June 31st, 2021, it isn't going to happen. That date does not signify anything unless these people, in which I don't know if you know this, FHA has put out that there are people that they're seeing rising rates of people that are delinquent on their mortgages. So I don't know why they're not filing, why they haven't filed the forbearance. Maybe they didn't know about the program or something. I don't know why that is. They have seen a slight uptick in that, but if you're expecting a big wave after July 31st, 2021, it's not going to happen like that. What do you think, Matt?
Oh yeah, no, I totally agree. And there's even there's some good information right now. I'll share it real quickly.
Go ahead.
On, just recently, as to what the people that have already exited forbearance and what those stats look like. So here's the actual chart of the forbearance, and you can see it. It's we had our big peak in March and April when we went into quarantine. And then it slowly just ticked down, and you can see little bumps and little dips, and those are all almost in perfect alignment with expiration dates or unemployment numbers or quarantine restrictions being lifted. So we're all the way down over here to April. So we're obviously at our all-time low since the quarantine. I think we're at 4.66%, I think is what it was. But this was what I thought was really interesting. So if you look at the cumulative forbearance exits from the period of June 1st, 2020 to April 4th, 2021. So what's that? Almost a year now. 26% resulted in a loan deferral partial claim. 26% represented borrowers who continued to make their monthly payments during their forbearance period. So there's already half of them that will not be going to foreclosure. Then there's 14.5% resulted in reinstatements, and which due past months are paid back when exiting forbearance. So now we're basically at 65% of those forbearances will not go to foreclosure. This one I was a little bit unclear on, but it's 14% represented borrowers who did not make all of their monthly payments and exited forbearance without loss mitigation plan in place yet. So I guess there's some questions there with that 14% of which way that could go. But then there's 9.5% resulted in a loan modification. So now we're at 75% that won't go into foreclosure. Then there's 7.5% resulted in loans to be paid off through either refinance or selling the home. So there's another. So now we're 83%. And so we have a little bit of a question mark. I don't know exactly what that means there. And then only 1.7% resulted in payment plan, short sales, deed in lieu, or other reasons. So the people that I've been saying this for a really long time, that the people took this forbearance program. Most of them took it because they had the option to, not necessarily because they had to. And in those that had to and needed that relief, they're returning back to work, or they found new work, or they're refinancing, or they're selling, and those properties just aren't going to show up in any sort of foreclosure process.
I do want to warn you, if you did take the forbearance and you do have your home for sale, even though you went right back to paying your regular payments and everything, make sure you also tell your title company that as well, because it has to do with the payoff of your loan. Make sure you tell them that you did take the period of forbearance for a period of time, and that you need a very updated loan payoff, and explain that to your real estate agent too, if they're breaking down the numbers, to know how much you're going to make at the long run on your profit, your bottom line. So just FYI. Question: what about modular companies that offer rent to own? I'm always very leery of anybody that offers anything rent to own. And if you do have a contract that is a rent to own type of contract, please take it to an attorney that's is familiar with real estate transactions, because I've seen more people get snowballed by a rent to own situation, and it's not in the favor of the person purchasing. It's always in the favor of the person that holds the mortgage. So just be careful. Just be careful.
The part that you really want to pay attention to is what's the condition to actually become the owner, and what is the time frame that has to be satisfied. Because the most common format for that, it's a 2-year lease option type thing. So you've got 2 years to get your credit in order, or come up with a down payment to execute that purchase. And if you don't within those 2 years, whatever portion of your lease was applied to the ownership, you will lose that at the end of that 2-year period. So that's probably the expiration period is probably the biggest thing to pay attention to.
In Louisiana, that's called a lease purchase. That's something completely different than rent to own. Rent to own is for the life of the time that you rent it. You take a portion of that rent and move it to another account that is like, it has to sit in that specific account. Cannot be touched by anything.
We would call that seller financing. So I guess it's different everywhere, but yeah.
Yep. So anyways, 6/30 to 6/30/21 is the final date. Oh, I guess this is the date when everybody's making their predictions. They got their crystal balls out.
That's when the forbearance officially ends, is what she was saying.
Yes. Yeah. Question: Biden has proposed 20 to 25,000 credit to limited amount for first-time home buyers who can qualify. Good idea. No, it's terrible. Right now, it's terrible, and I'm going to tell you why. We don't have enough supply of houses on the market. One of the fastest ripped off people right now are people that are trying to buy their very first homes. It's not the second or third homes where they've taken the equity out of their house and buy another house. No, it's people that are literally trying to get into this housing market. And those houses have gone up the most. They've gone up about 25% than over the last year, in comparison to the average of about 16%, because people are bidding much more than ever before. So if you take that group of buyers that has a limited supply and say, here's an additional $25,000, all that's going to do is drive up the price for those specific homes even more, about $25,000. I think it's an awful idea. But what do you think, Matt?
I think it's an awful idea also, but maybe for a different reason.
Okay.
All right. I was wondering where you're going to go with that, because I wasn't expecting that answer from you, but I see that side now. I look at 2005, 2006, 2007, when we had the big ramp up in appreciation in home values. And most of that happened because it became very easy for people that probably shouldn't be affording to buy a house to buy a house. And people got into houses, bought more houses than they could afford. And they got into situations where, something shifted in the economy and they couldn't afford those houses anymore. And that's what actually caused the crash. And I think if we enter into a new environment where we start making it really easy for people to buy houses again, we could repeat that movie all over again. Those
loans are still available, by the way. You can still get those kooky, stupid loans. It's still possible.
Your credit requirements are far more significant, though. And your proof of employment, proof of income are far more strict. But
Right,
yeah,
right.
so they exist if you can qualify, but now you actually have to qualify for them.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
I just like, but they had done a first-time home buyer package before, but that was because they had an oversupply of homes. They needed to get all these homes off the books because there was such a increased amount of supply of homes, and a lot of them that were going to be entering in the market even sooner because of foreclosures. So that it made sense at that moment to do those kinds of buyer incentives, so that way people would purchase all these houses that were sitting on the market.
Right.
It was great for a first-time home buyer. They took advantage of people's disadvantage of losing a lot of money and equity in a house, which I don't blame them. And I think it was a good idea at that specific time. But right now, with the amount of supply of homes, which is next to nothing in almost every single real estate market that I know of and have friends in, this is a really stupid idea. Just
I
my
haven't actually
opinion.
heard that 2025. I've been hearing the number 15,000. And the big difference between what it would be, what's proposed right now, and what happened that was during the Obama administration when he proposed that was a $15,000 tax credit.
Mhm.
The difference here is they get to actually bring $15,000 to close.
They had
So
two
they
different programs. They
do
had
that.
the $8,500 one. That was like real money. It wasn't a tax credit. But then they
Well,
had the
the Biden
15,000.
one right now is an extension of Obama's in 2008.
Oh, okay. So the other one, yeah, because they did two first-time home buyer plans. I don't know if you remember that. They did the first one was like I think it was 8,500. Then they did the $15,000 one.
Got it.
Question: what is the best way to get to know research the local government plans for developing an area? For example, like in Florida and North Carolina, you have to. Well, I don't know if you want to like get on their YouTube channel, but you can always any county that you really want to invest in, you can always go on their YouTube channel and watch it live. You can see what they're voting on. It's planning. You can look up their schedules, planning and development, and then you can watch their YouTube channel. I do it every single week. I have Ascension Parish live streams when it was their zoning and meetings when it comes in. So I know exactly who's buying what and what they're fighting over.
On county and city websites as well, they will post the minutes from all of their meetings, and you can see what
Absolutely.
the proposed plans are and what their intentions are for the future. Doesn't mean it's going to come true, but at least you can see what they're planning.
It's good to watch those too, because you can see the inflection and the intention of people's words when they speak them. So you can read something in minutes and read it one way, but when you actually see it in person, you're like, ooh, that was not a good thing. That's not good at all. All right, next one. We got another question there, Eddie? No, we have no more questions. So I have a question for you. Sure. Matt.
Yeah. Good.
When do you think that the bidding war is going to stop?
It's going to be 100% dependent on the interest rates. I think that the demand far exceeds the supply. So we're going to have interest rates, or we're going to have a supply shift. And I don't know where that shift is going to come from. Excuse the supply part, because I don't think it's going to come from people putting their houses on the market. It's certainly not going to come from the foreclosures or the forbearance programs. We're going to have to wait for new home builders to start adding supply to the market. That's what I'm thinking.
Well, and then they're going to have to come up with a way for builders to be able to build them cheaper than they can right now, because building materials are too expensive. Like the price of lumber is up 85% from last year or something, some ridiculous number like that, isn't it?
Yep, and you're right. And you mentioned steel as well, but I'm looking at a chart right now where housing starts fell sharply in January and February, but they bounced right back up in March and April. So something shifted. I don't know if it had to do with the prices or what, but new home builders are back on their game.
I have a question when it comes to lumber prices, because I don't know if you're on TikTok, but I follow a lot of people on TikTok, and the people that actually get the lumber, they're like, I don't know, we're still getting the same amount per, parcel of lumber. Nobody's like saying, oh, here, lumberjack, now your lumber's worth $35 when it was only $10 a year ago. Nobody's paying them more. So where is it coming from? Who's jacking the price up by the time it gets to the builder? Is it the person that's making it into The planks of wood, why are these prices? Because even OSB board is like ridiculous. It was like a sheet used to cost $15 and now it's like $45.
Yeah, I'm not a contractor. I'm not a builder. I don't like to fix and flip houses. I don't have a lot of experience there. But if that is the case, what you just said, if that's actually true, I would look at that housing starts and the builder confidence index, that it's so high right now, just like the reason that houses are getting bid up, and because they can charge more for them, because there are people that are willing to pay for it. And if there's home builders recognizing that demand and they're willing to pay the price for the wood and the lumber so they can build their houses, I would chalk it up to that. I would chalk it up to good old capitalism.
But the builders themselves say they can't build. Like the guys have gone on TV. They're like, I cannot build this house. This used to cost me $10,000 to frame a house, and now it's $45,000. I can't absorb that cost. I have to pass it on to the consumer. So somewhere along the pipeline, somebody's getting some extra money. Who is it? That's what I want to know.
I see what you're saying.
It's not the lumberjack that's cutting down the trees, and it's not the builder that's building the house. Who's making the money in the middle? That's what I want to know.
that middleman person that they always talk about.
Yep. It's not little bunny foo-foo, but I can't help it. The bunny foo-foo. Yeah. How should you go about looking for a home builder? Ooh, this is good. You can always go on Twitter, right? So I would go on Twitter and you would look for the builder themselves and then look to see how many people commented in Twitter about their specific home being built. Second thing you want to do is take that same home builder's name and start going into YouTube itself and then put the builder name and then put news and see what other news has come up from this specific home builder. You know, they might have like a ribbon cutting and everything else, but the news stations love to talk about anything that's happened that's negative, because that's what, makes people watch their program. So see if anything has come up like that, and then go to their Facebook business page and look at their reviews that have sit on there as well. I know that people pay to like review them on Facebook or whatever, but look at the profile, the person that is reviewing it, look at their profile, and you can tell pretty quickly if they're a bot or a real person. So definitely check all those different places. And then of course you can always check the Better Business Bureau. And that's what I would check. Yep.
Try homeadvisor.com.
Yeah, you can pay to get, I don't know, I'm not a big fan of them.
And buildzoom.com.
I don't know that one.
At least you'll find some names, and then you can go look up their reviews and you can go compare them to the Better Business Bureau. It'll be a good starting point if you don't have a referral. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to make it so easy.
No, but I would just give them all different places you could look up a builder. And I love a good news story, and nothing makes me feel better is when you find a news story that was 2 years old about a home builder that most people have forgotten about. And you give that to a client, I'm not saying this, but this is what the news is about this specific builder. And that's why I'm telling you to be cautious. And then as soon as they see it, because it didn't come from me, it didn't come out of my mouth, it came from the news station. I give that to a client. They're like, yeah, let's second guess that builder. Let's go somewhere else. I'm just providing the information. Question. Kind of the bidding war will not end till the supply catches up. End of story. We overbid by as much as $50,000 in St. Louis and didn't win the property. Supply/demand is driving this. Yes. I will argue a part of this is, though, there's a lot of investors that are taking their money out and driving up the prices of homes too. Because I've noticed that a lot of the people that are closing, it isn't necessarily,
When you say investors, who are you talking about, Kristina? Because I'm starting to take this kind of personal.
Well, I'm talking way bigger than even your pockets. I'm talking big pockets.
But whether it's an investor or a home buyer, it's still demand. And I think
it is demand,
but was just that hit it on the head. It's not going to stop until the supply catches up.
Yeah, I anticipated more supply coming up. I did. I anticipated more supply because of the fact that as people got vaccinated, they're like, you know what, we're probably going to have to head back to work anyways, and we're going to be putting this up for sale. And here we are, in the middle of May. I'm sorry, is it May? April. We're in the middle of April, and I still am not seeing a surge in supply, which surprised me. I just thought I'd see a little bit more, because like I said, you go to the mall, it's packed. Why aren't people willing to put their houses up for sale? And our area is a very it has a lot of like, Exxon and gas and oil refinery and even coffee and all sorts of stuff that allows for a lot of big corporations to purchase these houses and people that move in and they turn over. We don't even have any of those. Like those companies are not relocating their employees like they normally would this time of year. We usually have a pretty good amount of relocation properties from employers that people can purchase. I haven't seen any. I haven't seen any in months.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm interested to see if that's going to change, if employers are willing to still move employees to new locations like they did before. It's making me curious. Kristina C96 says, what qualifies you to be a first-time home buyer? My husband just sold his house in 2013, been renting ever since. With the last first-time home buyer plan that they had, it had to have been 7 years, I believe. Do you remember it that way? Wasn't it 7 years? You had to have not had a home for 7 years in order to be considered a first-time home buyer?
It's kind of a gray area, and you can play in that area. Just kind of someone was asking, like, do you have to live in the house type thing? It's as long as you're not moving really from one house to a new house. So if you're not an owner at the time of that purchase, I think that will slide through.
The last time they had a little bit more credentials, like you had to have, like you could not have owned a home within the last X amount of years to be considered a first-time home buyer. So we'll see. I mean, all this stuff is just talk until there's legislation anyways. I mean, all of it is just words that people say, articles that people write, and none of it means anything until it's actually on paper and it's out there as law. So,
right here, Kristina.
Mm-hmm.
Investopedia, August 30th, 2020.
Mm-hmm.
Someone who hasn't owned a principal residence for the 3-year period ending on the date of purchase of the new home.
Well, there you go. 3 years now.
3 years.
Yep. Boil nuts. Boil nuts are the same thing.
There you go.
Well, Matt, is there anything you would like to tell anybody before we let you go?
I guess if I were to share any sort of words, I actually don't see this thing settling down anytime soon.
Me either.
And I see the gap between the haves and the have-nots getting wider and wider. And
Mm-hmm.
one of the big common denominators of those that have is that they own real estate. I don't have this article in front of me, but a guy just did an extensive amount of research. It's on his 3rd book of this type of study. And the numbers, and I'm going to butcher the actual statistic, but you'll get the point. The difference between someone that owns a property or not is like a net worth at retirement age of like 40 to 1. So if you have to overpay a little bit, maybe that would be a good idea. I don't know. Someone asked, is $30,000 over asking? I guess that's going to be relative, or that's going to depend on what price point you're working in. But you got to get some real estate, and it's a tough market out there. I don't think it's going to get any easier. So if you don't own a piece, figure out how to do it. That's what I would do.
I said that in my last video, and and so, but that's what caused me a lot of guff, because there are people that are waiting it out because and it's said by many economists, in some specific areas, the amount of growth is unsustainable. In some other areas, it's going to remain, if not consistently go up, even after this is all said and done. You just have to know your market in your specific area. Matt and I can give blanket statements about any area, but it's not going to be true of your specific area. And that's why it's super important to work with a real estate agent that knows your area better than anybody else. So if you're looking for a real estate agent that is really well qualified, trust me, just give me an email and I will get you connected with somebody that can work with your specific needs. I have all my contact information in this video below, if you can look at the description, and just reach out to me and I will gladly send you to a qualified real estate agent that I personally know, not some Joe Schmo, like I know them. And that way you guys can get a real good real estate agent that knows that market. So anyways, cool. I want to thank everybody for spending your Sunday with me and talk about this crazy housing market. And don't forget on Tuesday, I have a video coming out talking about the housing crisis and affordability crisis going on throughout the United States. And I'm going to be adding a little bit more than what you heard today on some charts and figures of why this is happening. So Matt, thank you so much. And if you guys want to go to Matt's channel, he's the epic real estate guy. He's epic, and he does a lot of videos very similar to mine. And he has a lot of times we have a lot of different perspectives. So it's really good to subscribe to both channels. So make sure you check out Matt's channel as well. Awesome. Thank you, Matt. Thank you for coming in.
Kristina. It's a pleasure.
I appreciate you always. And we'll do this again next month. How about that?
Right. How about it?
All right, everybody, have a great week. And I hope you win your offer if you're looking to buy a house. I hope you win it.
Right, bye-bye.
Bye, everybody. Say goodbye. Go like this. Bye.